Aloha everyone, and thanks for joining me back here today. In today's video, I have another interesting topic to discuss. But before I do that, I just thought I'd say that you guys seem to really like my video about Ayana Koji. So if you haven't seen that video, go give it a watch. You might enjoy it. Or you may not. But since you've read the title, you know that today's topic is character development in My Hero Academia. And I've said this once and I'll say it once again, please go watch this anime before watching this video. I'd rather you guys get an understanding for it for yourself, watch it, and not have it spoiled for you, because this video contains spoilers. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. So as you guys know, character development in anime is something that really ties the anime together. When a character is being developed, there are certain attributes about the beginning of them and throughout their entire process that makes them interesting to watch. Now, I can only think of one example off the top of my mind, which is Naruto once again. Because in the beginning, in Kid Naruto, you know that Naruto is kind of knuckleheaded and that's basically how he is the entire time. And more toward the end of the anime, he kind of matures just a little bit in certain aspects, which is just a bit of development on his part. And yeah, and then in Shippuden, we see that Naruto is more mature than he was. Now he's still Naruto, of course, but he is more mature than he once was, and that's just that's just some regular character development that all of you probably know. But I thought I'd talk about the My Hero Academia development because it is something that I find pretty interesting. So to start off, I wanted to talk about Deku, or Izuku Midoriya, for anyone who doesn't know this anime. Deku's character development is very interesting to me. It's pretty basic because, he's the main character and all, but it's definitely something that you should take a look at. So if you guys know that in the anime, Deku is quirkless at the beginning. In the beginning, Deku's completely quirkless. He doesn't have a quirk because, he just didn't develop one. And yeah, that's just kind of how everyone thought it was going to be whenever you first watch the anime. We also see that while he's in school, he's kind of reclusive and scared of not only Bakugo, but just a little shyish in general. And, whenever I saw it, I honestly thought, is this man going to be like this the entire time? Because if he is, that's going to be really hard to like him. But we do see then that later in the anime, a couple episodes next, we see that he meets All Might, his greatest hero ever that Deku has in his mind. And basically, All Might says that he's going to pass his quirk down to Deku, and that instantly makes him super excited to, gain All Might's quirk because it's something that he never had as a quirk. And then we see that he has to train his body and able to, be able to take All Might's quirk, because if he doesn't, well, his arms and legs will shoot off. But that is something, that's just the beginning bit of Deku. We see that he's kind of reclusive, frailish, he was trying to train and become good enough so he could take All Might's quirk, but in the beginning he's kind of frailish. And it's not only right here either. We see later in the anime that Deku is kind of in the whole beginning parts, Deku is completely scared of Bakugo, and I'll go more into that in a little bit, but he's just kind of completely just scared of him. And I don't mean all the time. He just has this a little bit of trembling fear every once in a while. And we see that in the beginning that Deku can't control his quirk correctly because he always uses 100% of the power every single time, which completely destroys his body because he can't handle it because he's not as strong as All Might. But in that early beginning, we already see development because during the I don't know what exactly it's called, but when Aizawa is making him do all the physical tests, we see that Deku already cooks up a plan in order to throw the ball without completely destroying his arm. He focuses all the energy into his finger, which already shows you that Deku is smart, he's clever, perceptive, and knows how to handle a situation. But I want to fast forward a little bit to more in the future time where Deku has more control over his quirk, which is kind of a given that he would get more control over it over time. But also we see that Deku is like more mature in handling like Bakugo, but not only that, just like situations when like it comes to hero work in general, Deku's more perceptive and knows how to handle stuff better. You know, because he has an incredible IQ when it comes to dealing with the hero work, which I find is super cool because, you know, like he always has a plan, and it may or may not always work, but, you know, he always has like some sort of plan that works out. And yeah, that's basically what I think about Deku when it talks about development. Now, I could go more in depth if you guys would like to see a video on that or anything like that, just let me know. But the next character I want to talk about is Bakugo. Now, Bakugo, in my opinion, is like, in My Hero, I'm not the biggest fan of him, and I'll explain more in a little bit. But Bakugo's character development is also interesting to me. Because if you don't know, Bakugo and Deku kind of have a bit of a grudge with each other. And again, I'm going to go in more in that kind of thing next, but Bakugo's character development is kind of interesting. So we know that from the beginning, Bakugo was kind of a natural with controlling his quirk. You know, he was just a born natural, knows how to do it, you know, that kind of thing. And he's very, very prideful of it and has like, he's consistently like, yeah, I'm better than everyone. Everyone is inferior to me. If someone beats me, that shouldn't happen. He's kind of full of himself, and that's like his personality is smart and knows how to like think quickly on his feet. Compare, like, if you put Deku and Bakugo into two separate boxes, you know, Bakugo thinks more quickly on his feet. Like, he's always like one thing after other, while Deku can do that not as fast, but he's more of like a thinking out a plan kind of guy, because we see this happen whenever they're doing like a 2v2 and that training test with Ida and Bakugo and Ochaka. If you know, Deku and Bakugo definitely have an axe to grind with each other, and that's shown out through the entire anime and manga, if you read manga. But through the entire anime, they both have an axe to grind. Like, they're constantly like at each other's throats. More Bakugo and Deku, but you know, Deku, like, if you know why, it's basically because Deku got no quirk and Bakugo got a quirk. You know, Bakugo just started getting full of himself, that kind of thing, and just until he thought Deku was a nuisance and he didn't like him. And then we see that in the beginning that Bakugo gets super pissed at Deku when he realizes he has a quirk. He instantly thinks that Deku was trying to hide it from him so he could be better than him, even though this is not what happens at all. That's what Bakugo thinks. And we see that he gets mad at him in the like fitness exam and tries to like attack him, as Zylo is just like, hey, yo, nope. And this is kind of how it goes for like the entirety of the first part, is that Deku is, you know, progressing and whatever, but Bakugo really can't handle him having a quirk in the slightest, just because it's just wild to him because he'd never seen it before. And we see that in the part where Deku is like doing that race to All Might, we see that he learns from Gran Torino on how to use full cowling and how to like use speed better, now that kind of thing, be more mobile. And this like completely pisses off Bakugo, and he's like, why is this happening, that kind of thing. And
I'd say Midoriya's at a heavy disadvantage against those four.
That's what I think.
Who's your pick? I'm betting on Sero.
Oh, yeah? I got odds on Ojiro.
I choose Ashido, cause she's got a super athletic body.
I know Deku will be last. Look at him go!
With my new training, I can win!
Whoa! Midoriya?
Since when can he do that?
What? No way!
Those are my moves. While I spent my time getting groomed at that useless internship, he... Look at him! Damn it!
Midoriya! Are you kidding me?
It honestly makes me kind of like laugh how Bakugo is kind of like always thinking Deku's just like trying to get back at him, even though Deku's not that way. It's just interesting to kind of go into his brain every once in a while and see what Bakugo is actually thinking compared to Midoriya. But yeah, this is like the development between these two is incredible in my opinion. Now, there are parts in it where it's very slow them developing together, but it gets better like in like season 4 and up. There's a certain part where well, actually, let me go back first and say that Deku tells Bakugo that he gets a borrowed quirk, so to speak. And, Bakugo doesn't take him seriously. And then over time, he realizes that maybe he wasn't lying. And then we see that Bakugo, Deku, once he learns full cowling, he also gets better at using it and can take it from 5% to 8%, and just gets way better at using his quirk and everything. And then we see that Deku learns Black Whip, which is basically a quirk from one of the previous holders of One for All. And then Bakugo straight up challenges him to a duel. Like, we're going to fight right now. We got to see this power of yours. And, Bakugo wins just because, Deku's not too advanced yet and that kind of thing. He almost does, but, Bakugo is just a bit better at that part. And then Deku and Bakugo, from that point on, become proper rivals because All Might kind of like tells Bakugo the entire story. And then from that point, they're proper rivals, and they're not just there because, Bakugo hated him as a kid. Now it's because, like, they need to be rivals and trying to, like, improve and be better than each other in a way that they both improve good as heroes. And from there, it just kind of goes on. Bakugo simmer down a little bit with his classmates, wants to coordinate better and that kind of thing. And yeah, this is, like, I just find that super cool that their development as two of the main characters just happens constantly. Anyways, the next one is probably one you more than likely expected. That is Todoroki and his family. Now, I'm going to go and say something before I talk about this. I find Todoroki very funny for some reason. And I don't mean just like constantly, but he has kind of like dull humor. And it is just like very funny. Like, if you guys remember the point where like he has to go on stage, like where Mount Lady's teaching him how to like interact with the public, and he's like, "Let's see those pearly whites of yours," and then she says something like it could blind audience, and he's like, "Oh no, my smile could blind an audience," or it's something like that. That's just super funny, and yeah, I just thought I'd point that out real quick.
People to feel safe, I'd recommend smiling at least once. You flash those pearly whites and the ladies will drop dead, you feel me?
If I smile, then they'll die?
Moving on!
But Todoroki actually is like another interesting character with his development. Not with him just as a person, but with his family as well. Excuse me. You see, like, most of these characters are kind of main characters, these first three, but I am going to bring up some other ones soon. But Todoroki is one of the characters that everyone kind of wants, that's who their favorite character is Todoroki, kind of from the start, half cold, half hot, he's a good looking anime guy or whatever. But his backstory is like very, very, like, this is where I draw this progression from, is from his backstory. You see, Endeavor was never a good father to Todoroki or to his wife, or not a father to his wife, but, a good husband or just father in general. And the entire time, like, his family's completely jacked up to the point where they can't even have a dinner together. It's that bad. His mom's in the hospital, Endeavor's always doing work. And Todoroki is completely, like, hateful of his father. Like, he doesn't even want to use the fire side because it just would show him that he accepts him, but, he never did. But he kind of progresses from this point as well, more in that he learns that Deku shows him in the exam, like the sports festival, that it's not his father's power, it's his, because it's in him, it's a different power. But
It's yours!
and then,
Your
from
quirk,
that
not
point on,
his!
Todoroki realizes it, and he starts to use his fire, but he starts, like, his relationship with his father starts patching up slowly. Not like it doesn't get anywhere too great, but he does learn to, like, patch things up, because he, like, completely hated his father for mistreating his mother and everything like that. And then if we go even further, we see that he had other children that he wanted to be better than All Might, and one of those being Toya, or as you guys may know him, Dabi. Is that Toya, or I'll call him Dabi just so you guys know who I'm talking about. Dabi is completely like the flame side of Todoroki. Like, he completely hates Endeavor and hates what he's done, and just wants to rebel against him, because Dabi was, like, Endeavor's first child who he thought could pass Endeavor because his flames were stronger. But they realized that his flame actually burns him when he uses it, so he completely just like, nope, we don't need him anymore. And from that point on, Todoroki, or Dabi, I keep calling him Todoroki, Dabi realizes that his father never cared about him, really. Like, he cared about him progressing, but other than that, nothing. And from this point on, Todoroki, Dabi just completely goes rogue and joins the League of Villains, changes his hair, and completely, like, just rebels Endeavor entirely. And we really don't know anything about Dabi being connected to Todoroki for the longest time, until we start putting, like, lines together. But yeah, the entire time, this family is completely out of whack. But whenever Todoroki, Bakugo, and Deku join Endeavor's agency, they start patching stuff together slowly. And then even Deku realizes that Todoroki's ready to seal things up with his father, and he even says it. And, from that point on, their relationship starts healing at a slow pace. And it doesn't get anywhere too great, but they then realize, like, it's time to move past this and try to, heal stuff together. And then, even in Season 6, we see that their family didn't really know anything about Toya or what happened to him. So he explains everything and what all went down. But yeah, that's Todoroki family for you. The next one is, this next character is definitely one I found so much interest in, and that is Twice, or Zai Bubagawara. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this character, let me tell you, he is amazing. Like, when I was thinking about how to write this, Twice was definitely in my top 5 list, because, he is a interesting character, like, very, very interesting. If you guys don't know, I'm going to explain what Twice's quirk is, so this kind of explains how he develops. And basically, Twice has the ability to copy stuff, so, like, he can copy anything he, like, can remember well, and that kind of thing. So, like, he could make a copy of himself and make copies from that. He could just make infinite copies. So people wonder, what is so different about him? Well, if you guys know, in the anime, he is always talking with himself. Like, you hear him saying something normal, and then another voice that sounds exactly like him says something different.
And of course, the League of Villains are the darlings of the hour.
Well, that's nice to hear. No, it's not. Shut up! Damn it! So, why are you calling me? I'm a busy man, I've got nothing to do.
I couldn't.
Well, this is because Twice has something mental in his mind. So basically, Twice, as you guys know, like, at one point in his life was making clones to do work for him. But it got bad to the point that his clones started thinking they were the real Zai and almost killed the real one. So from that point on, Zai, Twice didn't know if he was the real one or not. So that's why he wore a mask, to know that he is. And I just find his progression, it's nothing too great, like, Todoroki's family or Deku's, like, quirk progression or like with Bakugo, but twice throughout realizes more and more about himself and like realizes that he is the real one and that no one else is. And at some point he does realize that he is the real one because I think Himiko Toga pointed that out to him, that he's the real one, and he is able to make clones of himself again and that sort of thing. But, you know, Twice had like a really tough childhood and then, or not childhood, just adulthood, and then started following Shigaraki and realized that Shigaraki's goals were like kind of what he wanted as well. And to be honest with you, I find that super duper interesting how the entire time Twice has like a super interesting backstory that, you know, no one really looks at too closely. So yeah, that's pretty much all about Twice really that I could get for this video. I want to go more in depth only if you guys would want to see that, because he is definitely an interesting character. So if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comment section. But yeah, that's a shorter one. And for the last characters, this is not a certain character. This is more of a group of characters. And this is going to be kind of negative. So just to let you know a little prehand, I'm very annoyed, and like it kind of ticks me off whenever I talk about it to my friends. The development with the females in My Hero is super bad, and I legit makes me think that the writer is sexist, because it is not very good. And it's kind of annoying because if you guys know, there's not good development for the female characters. Like there is not. Like any other character, like all the males in the class have development, and some of them more than others, but still. And maybe the writer is not sexist. Like I'm not gonna point any fingers or call anyone out, but that's what it seems like from this. And to be honest with you, it's kind of weird because specifically, if you watched it, you've already noticed that there's more female characters than male characters in the anime. And you know, this may just be something that happened, or maybe I don't know, because if you know, two of the females were actually supposed to be guys, but they weren't because, well, they needed more girls just to be so there'd be more. Excuse me, my words are not flowing too well. But if you know, there's like no development whatsoever, which is just super frustrating because every single character needs development. Now there are minor stuff, but really nothing too big. Like we see that Jiro kind of gets a whole arc where she gets to run the music festival like concert, which is, you know, that's cool. But other than the girls getting like their quirk like stronger and being able to use it better, there's really not too much that's said about their background or anything like that, which is just super duper like bad. I don't like it really. I feel like they should get more development and had more like deep stuff. And you know, sometimes I can see like maybe it's too much for the writers, but at least a couple of them should get like some mention about how it all went down. But you know, that's just something I thought was super weird. Now if I could, like, if there was some characters that I could say something about, I mean, we do know Ochako, like we do know that her parents were like constructioneers and she wants to help them. I mean, that's really about it, but it doesn't really progress. Again, the only thing we really see is that they progress with their quirk, and I honestly don't know anything else, which is interesting. But yeah, guys, that about wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed, please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will be sure to read your comments. My previous video on Ayano Koji got a couple of good comments, so I just want to say thank you guys so much. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this video and other videos to come. But also, before I go, I have to discuss something very important. I need a name for my mascot. So I'm going to be making a poll in a couple days on mascot like name poll, and I'm picking names from Club Penguin in tribute to it. So please go vote for which one you think is the best and suits it. And then whatever one you guys pick is the one I'll use. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay awesome.